This meeting is being recorded.
We really should go and see them play. Wouldn't it We can't hear anything.
Can I ask you a question? Of course. What brings you true joy? What really makes you happy? Margaret, we were talking about polo. How about polo then? Does polo make you happy? You make me happy. Thank you. Yes. Yes. What's that? Mary. It's Marie.
You can hear something.
How about now?
That's better, except for that you're echoing like crazy. You've got the speakers off, the microphones both on the town of Canaan and Ned's. We can hear nothing.
For 2 months. It's preposterous. Well, I'm definitely not going.
How about now?
Again, it's echoing, but we cannot really hear you. We'd like the meeting to stop until you've got the volume correct. We can hear nothing.
Nobody's talking.
Up.
Again, Ned is echoing like crazy, and now the speaker's off again. I can't see what Dan is saying. I can see he's holding up something, but I can't hear a thing he's saying because both of the microphones are off on the town of Canaan and Ned's.
Can you send them a chat?
They're not saying anything.
There's a crazy echo.
Yeah.
And now I still haven't gotten perfect dress, so I went to the bridal salon to see if they have anything new. Nothing at all. So I was thinking, why don't we do with Gabriella Monroe?
Are we better now?
Yep.
Okay.
And what I was holding up there with.
I'd like to go on my own.
No, I'm not comfortable with you being in the city by yourself, young lady.
I'll stay with Kitty. Her husband.
Yeah.
She married well.
This is terrible.
Yeah, there's something really bad. It's hard to hear. Very sci-fi.
Are we okay now?
I beg your pardon?
How about now?
Can't hear.
How about now?
Speak into the microphone, Sophia.
It should pick up the whole room if it's going correctly.
That seems better.
Sounds good. Okay, okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Nick.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, now. Yeah, remember what he
Let's get
did.
it straight the next time, the first time.
All right, listen,
It's been a problem for as long as we've had it.
yeah, it is what it is, but no worries. We got it.
All right, next thing on the agenda is the town report.
Yes. Would people prefer the standard staple in the side, smallish size? I wish, a town report of about this size. Or a town report of more, paper size staple, the larger size.
What are the advantages of the larger size? We've had the small size forever, so.
A little bit less expensive, easier to format, easier to read, but. and
The bigger one? Yeah,
and then the standard size is,
I just continue with that.
I say we roll with this.
Yeah,
5x7.
standard size it is.
Yep, standard size it is. Easy enough.
Now, dedication, we have had no comments on who to dedicate it to. And Mashita came up a while back,
yeah.
but there's been no other people put forward. He passed away recently and served as a selectman for a long period.
He was on the budget committee too,
Yeah.
probably.
There are any other suggestions we can,
Who was last year's dedicated to?
We dedicated to Nelson Terrio. He's still alive, but he served as welfare officer for 25 years. I have no problem with Ben. I mean, he definitely served the town for a long time. Yeah,
is that in concurrence of the board? Then?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I will speak to his estate and get other information back.
thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Next thing, high school prom at the meeting house.
Yes, I've spoken with the high school, Debbie, I forget what her name is.
Radio
Debbie.
machine.
She's here, Debbie is here, good. On concerns of the volume of potential use for the bathroom and that we may need, if we did permit them to use it, we may need to walk the bathroom and everybody would have to go to porta potties, parking, and also that the windows, given that it's a May thing, that the windows really can't be touched because they're fragile. So, and there have been other concerns. I know that people have spoken about the white pine boards and they're relatively small pine, so, and heels would be,
Well, and I also, we had there was a wedding or something there. We have a whole list of things that you can and can't do. And when we got there, they had thumbtack decorations through the entire thing, all into the finished woodwork. You can't do that. So.
We did get a copy of the
Yeah.
agreement,
Okay,
and that's all stated in there. That this is what we were looking for to begin with, and Sophia's mom was able to get this somehow. And it states in there about the porta potties, which we understand. The last high school dance that was held there last May, June. I was there. The girls don't wear their shoes. That's for pictures only. But anyway, our thought was that we were going to also get a tent rental so that we could be outside as much as possible.
Right.
The building itself would just house our food and our music. Only because, I mean, we just,
how many attendees are you expecting?
well, between the junior and senior classes, which primarily attend, there's 156 people. And that's give or take, because obviously not everybody goes.
No food. Food is in the tent.
Yes, oh, that's right, we're gonna
No
put
food
food
in
in
the
tent.
building.
But there was been food in there before, so that's here, but,
That's fine.
unless that's new.
So finish. There they go.
So,
So is food like, it's not meals, it's like,
no,
like
it's
finger
just
foods and stuff?
appetizers,
Yeah.
yeah. Just with COVID, all of our fundraising opportunities were shut down. We couldn't have our Halloween,
Halloween dance.
why can't I talk tonight? because of COVID, there was so many other things that we we're supposed to do that we just couldn't do, so we have very little money to this, and this is our junior class fundraiser. That's how we raise money so that we can go on a trip next year. And so we have none. Well, very little. So we're looking to rent the facility at the price that it was so that we could have money. Because we're in the hole starting anywhere else. Because we used to go to Dartmouth Skiway. It's
Yep.
$1,500. It's $5,000 now, and that doesn't include food. So, and what was the other place? Ragged Mountain, also $5,000. That does include some food, but again, we don't even have $5,000 in our kitty. So.
So do we have some mechanism for any necessary repairs that might need to be done?
Well, they have to sign a liability agreement.
They do.
Yeah.
So how would that work if they're already in the hole?
They'd have to take that into consideration and they sign the liability agreement.
My question is, not that I'm absolutely opposed to it, and I know it's not the most fun option, but why, if we have no money, why don't we consider just doing it at the high school?
Well, that's something that we have to convince the class of.
Right.
We haven't completely talked about that as an exec board. It has been brought up to other people.
Yeah.
And that may be where we have to go. I know in years past, as a class advisor, when I mentioned having it at the school, they were absolutely no interest.
I get it.
At Canaan Speedway, I know from having weddings and going to other events there that could have been in the time decorated nicely. They want to know part of that. Even when we had what was that? The competition complex, that little ballroom.
Yeah.
But
How
of
about-
course, that was 16 and 17, 19.
So they is the class themselves, the students. Is there an option of, I know it's not the most fun option, right? But the Enfield Community Center sort of thing, I don't know if that even will hold that many people or not.
I don't know if it really.
It
They
does
would
take-
hold more than the meeting house would.
Yeah,
And
It does.
they wouldn't be allowed to go upstairs.
No, we knew that.
Yeah,
right.
that would be blocked off.
I can foresee a list of things this long coming after. That's my real concern. Yeah. I think the heels on the floor would be damaging, but I get it. They wouldn't be wearing them really. I understand, like but man, the list of things headaches that will come afterwards, I think would outweigh the fun that we
But
all.
the only option we have for them is the meeting house.
Well, no, I mean, you could also, like you just said, I mean, the building in Enfield.
But in Canaan, that's the only thing we've got.
That's the only.
Pretty much, we don't have any other.
I personally
communities.
like the idea of it being held within the district instead of them traveling to Ragged or to Scutney or the Skiway even. I mean, having the kids drive down those roads or, for a prom. So I do like it being held locally or being thought about being held locally. We've got a lot of money invested in the meeting house though. And
Right.
so I guess that's what our concern is.
Yeah.
I mean, you really fall into the same liability of anybody else renting it though. So,
I know when my daughter's class graduated, it was when they first broke ground and the graduation had to be moved to Cardigan. I mean, does Cardigan have a decent facility up there? Again, not the most fun, I
Right.
understand that, but at least it's not held in the same gymnasium that you guys sit in every day, right?
Right. I think probably the only option, and I don't know, I haven't checked with any of them. And when we had graduation up there, it was at the hockey rink.
Mhm.
And that was,
I know my daughter and I joke that her graduation has Cardigan Cougars. The picture has Cardigan Cougars in the background. Yeah, she missed graduation at the middle school and at Indian River. And then she didn't get graduation as traditional at the high school. And then when she graduated from college, they were all home because of COVID.
Oh,
So
no.
she's never had a graduation.
But there was a well-attended graduation. There was 1,300 people.
There was a
there.
lot of people there. Yeah.
What about last a lot?
I don't know if there's a building over there that's
No, they
big
had it
enough.
there last year in
Yeah.
a tent.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I don't think it's
Yeah.
big enough, and they don't have really that great of facilities as far as bathrooms and kitchen areas. It's pretty outdated over there.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the meeting house, if you're gonna do a tent and you're talking porta potties, you really almost could do it anywhere. I mean,
right.
I wouldn't worry about the dates, because I have them from Friday evening through Sunday morning, so there's plenty of time to install and clean up, and I can hold those dates.
I think you should exhaust other options before there.
Yeah, I think it's not so much, probably.
Ellie,
On that building?
Yes,
You
you
may.
can.
Yeah.
you can, but if they're using a tent, then
And say in the contract. 140. It's 140.
So the contract says 140 people.
You have to have 3 porta potties for 140 people.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the fire, because that's what, you don't have town meeting there because of that. That's the fire chief told
We never get 140 at town meeting.
Well, and it's cold in there that time of year.
Yeah. All right, like I said, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out 100%, but I would
Okay.
look for other options first.
Probably pretty close to 100%.
I know.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the restoration committee would be thrilled about it.
Yeah.
What's wrong with the school?
Nothing. It's just the place that they attend every day, 5 days a week. So to have something that's as special as your junior, senior prom, they were hoping to have it somewhere a bit nicer.
Well, when they graduate and have to go to work and pay for the $26 million for that school, maybe they'd appreciate it.
Well, let me tell you, the first year that we were gonna have graduation after that renovation.
Yeah.
We wanted to have it in the nice auditorium. Oh, didn't we get some slack?
Amazing.
Which
Yeah,
I don't understand.
well,
Yeah.
you're limited. That was the problem.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
That's
but,
okay.
I would ask, please, if there's somehow you can keep us informed of what you find. I'd like to just kind of keep it in my notes, so I know what projects we make and what our options are for next
Yep.
year, please.
yeah, I would look at the Enfield's Community Center too. It's all part of the same.
Right.
Same district.
So,
huh?
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Next thing on the agenda is the budget update.
Budget updates.
Thank you, dear. Good luck driving, be safe.
We're actually doing fairly well. If you flip back to the very last page. That my copy, you'll see that it says. Lower. Right, and, lower right hand corner, or upper right hand corner, excuse me. 6.8% is optimal and we're at 11%, so that's pretty good. We do have some overruns. They're mainly due to staff and staffing. They run from, my office, which is over a pile, but it's over because the budget was $1. If you look at one of the critical places that were over. Flip to page 3. It said the contract appraiser. About halfway down the page. It's over by 250%. That's really due to staff turnover, and if you had to bring in Todd and his people.
Okay,
Page 3? Yeah, I don't see it on page 3.
right here.
3, okay,
No, it's 3, guys. Right here, guys. Just
Oh.
right down. Yeah,
Okay, I see it.
it's in fact.
see it, Stephen.
Yeah, down 1% it says.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Not terrible. though.
That's not terrible, but it's just,
from basically from Shrell.
yeah.
Leave-in and some other-
Actually coming on.
Yeah.
We had a contractor. The other one that's at the bottom of that page, the Grafton County prosecutor, we knew that was gonna be bad, and it's the known problem, they raised our rates.
Gotcha.
Continuing down on the page 5. Government building state inspections. Minus 71%. I'm gonna need to, I was just going over this afternoon. I have to find out why is that so high. It may be due some renewal, but I need to find out why. Down even farther, cemetery supplies. We're over by nearly $1,800. Again, we need to know why that is. I think that's mainly a
Fuel. Oh, no, that's separate. Yeah, never mind.
Fuel is separate, but supplies, I think that has to do with one of the lawnmowers having some issues.
Okay.
The other thing that the general government postage, we just need to do a better job of budgeting that.
That's not allocated, that's why that. Supposed to be allocated, it's different departments that come off.
Can you repeat that? We couldn't hear, I couldn't hear what you said.
Elliot said that it's a government postage is supposed to be allocated to postage in each department,
There is a house now.
and that's not at this time.
And it's the same with gas and the highway department.
Yes,
Have you started working on the proposed budget for next year?
oh yeah, they are working on it furiously. In fact, we have,
Well, we have to have a budget too.
oh yeah.
Okay.
Good. I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of the budget. Is it available online?
Not at this time, but I can email it out to people.
Oh, I would love, is it available in town hall? I can just go get it.
Yes, it is available
Yep.
at town home. Come on in tomorrow and I'll happily get you a copy.
Great.
Yep.
Can I ask a quick question? How much new income are we getting from sale turnovers so that we have these values of homes increased, or are we not reassessing as it's sold?
No, the reassessment's already been done.
All right.
It doesn't adjust after every sale. It adjusts every year.
Year.
Oh,
Well, it's 5 for the entire town, but they do partial assessments every year.
Every year for what has sold. Gotcha.
So Hugh, you had a question?
Yeah, looking for the ambulances budget, the page 6, you have contracted ambulances and total Canaan emergency. And they're both 175,000 rolled out to 000, and I can't find the CE and that's in the.
It's a separate page. It's not on here.
It's down. Starts at EM at the bottom of the page. I'm sorry.
I think it's in here.
Yeah, it's the
Oh, here it is. It's on page 8. No, that can't be right.
yeah, the detail is not there. It's beyond the end of the budget. That's the part I didn't.
All right, we'll need that next time.
Yeah,
Any questions on the budget?
this is actually,
Yeah, I'd just like to see a detail.
Okay,
okay.
Even if we could send that, get that fixed, and throw out an email in the next couple of days.
yeah, I mean, that should be included.
Yeah, I will, actually, why don't we table this and I'll bring it back to the next meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll go there.
Perfect.
We're getting close to the end of the year, that's why I thought.
Yeah. No, I agree.
The next meeting, we should have just a quick FYI encumbrances. I'll be contacting the department heads the next couple of days to get together.
Okay.
The encumbrances, some of the encumbrances
I
you
know.
have already from Bob at Highway.
I believe Gloria said that they have, but all the nonprofits have been funded from the warrant articles.
Yes, they should have gotten the ones that were approved, gotten their checks, yeah.
Okay. Other business. Go ahead.
Ryan Carr, Sawyer Hill Road. We're on here another business.
Yeah.
We're here to, once again, inform you that we're going to present the warrant article for the town to see if we can get, I'll just quickly say approximately what it is, see if the town will adopt a property tax exemption in the amount equal to 100% of the assessed value of the qualifying solar and or wind powered energy systems. Now, the reason for this you can say, well, when you put solar on your house, it increases the value. No, it doesn't necessarily. It might not. I heard somebody tell me, two people told me from last week, only wealthy people can do that. Well, believe me, I retired 20 years ago, and we're not wealthy. I'm not pleading poor mouth, I'm just saying we're not wealthy. As a matter of fact, I checked. Our income is right in the middle of Canaan. Take all the incomes in Canaan, we're right in the middle. So that shouldn't be too much of a problem. The other thing is that New Hampshire is really doing, the state is doing a good job of supporting when people install these in your homes. And you can get credit, various types of credit. Right now, the federal government will only give you 30% tax. Not a rebate, but credit, thank you for saying the right word. Tax credit. You might say, well, I'm probably gonna pay that many taxes, and well, then it can roll over to the next year. But they're perfectly willing to do that. So it costs a lot less now. Every year it costs less. And I can tell you that from in the 2.5 years since we've had records, we've had the one alignment of 10 panels for 6 years, the other one for 2.5 years, also 10 panels. And since we installed the second one, we have data that says that we save 35,000 pounds of CO2 from going into the atmosphere. The other thing I can tell you is since then, once we got through the first 3 months, we haven't had an electric bill. And as a matter of fact, I can say it another way though. Full disclosure, we have $14.70 a month that we pay to the electric company to store the excess that we generate. So we're generating thus far more than we've taken in, or more than we owe. So we don't have to pay them anything except for that storage fee. So they call a storage fee. I don't know where they put the electricity, but that's not up to me to know. I just know that we're well over, and we expect that we're not going to have to pay anything this year either. Even through this winter. Hopefully, don't know. Do we heat the house with electricity? No, partially we do. We've got pretty heat pumps. So partially, yes. Otherwise, we also do have propane. The other thing is that this would put us in line with the towns around us. And I'm not talking Hanover, although Hanover is one of the towns, but every town around us. Enfield, Lyme, Grafton, Dorchester, Grantham, Lebanon, Plainfield. All those towns have 100% solar wind tax exemption. All of them. And we're sitting in the middle without one. And so we would like to have that if possible. And question I always used to ask was asked when I was in local government was how much is going to cost me in my taxes? And that's a very legitimate question. And as best we can figure out, it would add about $4 to your tax bill for the whole year. I'm talking about the people in the town,
The solar tax.
Per house.
if we have that,
You're talking $4 per household.
yes, that's correct. That's the best we could do.
So are you submitting this as a petition warrant article?
Yes,
Okay,
yes, we appreciate your consideration of it, though.
okay.
We encourage people to do solar if that passed.
Are you petitioning to be taxed
No.
or
No.
not to be taxed?
Uh,
100% abatement on the solar panels, the valuation that it adds to.
The cost to each household, $4 a year, is that because of the lost tax revenue from in our current situation?
Exactly.
So in fact, it's actually kind of a wash.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close, yeah.
But we just wanted to be honest about it and sure give all the information.
And did you take into consideration how much it cost you to get the panels and all of that over a length of time?
Yes, but
But I mean, so what I'm saying is you said that you got $14 bill a month.
that's right.
What you didn't say is you paid, I don't know, $10,000-$20,000 for the panels and the installation.
Yeah, I think the first installation was like 14,000 after the rebates that we got, and then the other installation. I had to remember, it might have been something between 8 or 11,000, but I don't know.
The price has gone down.
So what I'm saying is that you've actually paid more than the rest of the people that have the line going by you. Correct?
Right, and we're making everybody here cleaner, you know?
Right.
That's the other thing that's different about this. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I might lose this thought. You know, if somebody adds on a garage to their house, that does add value. It's not helping, really not particularly helping the rest of the community. But when somebody puts in solar, any kind of,
Renewable energy. I'm
system, it
talking
helps the whole
from
community.
I'm talking from the viewpoint of the Cider Mill property, which had absolutely no electricity for 40 years that I owned the place.
Mhm.
And now that I've put the solar panels up there, the initial investment was 55 grand. Now, when you're starting at 70, there is no way that you're gonna make up
Yeah,
that much of electricity.
yeah.
And I was told, oh, well, it increases the value of the property. But it, you know, yes, 55 out. Then you have all these batteries
Yeah.
that go dead sometimes, and you have to replace those,
Right,
and they're not cheap.
yeah.
And then you have the gas that you have to put into your generator, which is not cheap. And on the days like the last few days, well, yesterday wasn't too bad, but in the wintertime, there is maybe a $1,500-$1,500 fuel bill to run the generator because you don't have electricity.
There's a lot to it.
So to say that your evaluation should go up because you have solar panels, but you didn't have electricity before, and somebody said, well, you're the only one benefiting from having electricity. Well, most of us benefit because we have electricity going by. So I'm not sure why we should increase the property valuation because you are spending a lot of money so that you can either rent or live in a place, because in this day and age, people don't want a place with no electricity. And the state of New Hampshire actually has I looked up what are the advantages to solar panels. The state of New Hampshire says that you get a tax credit for installing it, but that's not true only if you have electricity, the wires going by your property that you can put it in. They don't support that part. The federal government gives you a 30% tax credit for the initial installation. But that's the federal government. And according to the state of New Hampshire's solar rebates and incentives, it says, in addition to saving you money on your electric bill every month, you will be exempt from paying property taxes on the additional value solar adds to your home in the state of New Hampshire.
Yeah, we saw that.
The incentive also applies to the commercial sector, offering a great incentive for local businesses to consider solar.
Like you took over, what my finishing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you did, that's great. That's great. I read the same thing. And I said, that's not true. They know him.
Yeah.
To write that
But
and
they,
to say that,
they put it out there. Yeah.
that's just not true. Everybody doesn't have that.
So,
Well, actually, I talked to a guy from the state of New Hampshire today. And the thing he told me was that legally, any improvement to your property can be taxed by your community, your town.
Yeah.
However, the second part of that is that in the case of solar, most towns to encourage solar have gone ahead and enacted that exemption. Canaan seems to be the lone wolf here who had chosen not to do that. And I don't know if that's a part of a lack of support for renewables. I'm not sure I understand why we've taken that approach.
Well, the last time it was a warrant article, it was voted down by the,
Yes, but it also was not recommended by you guys, and you
No.
have such influence.
no.
Yeah.
And the main reason why that was not recommended was because we had a whole group of individuals come to us and tell us they didn't want wind energy in the town because there was a proposal to put up windmills up on 118, and they had a big fit about it. And the next thing you know, we get a proposal to give you a tax break for having wind energy. So it really
Well, how
didn't
does
make
that
any
affect
sense.
solar?
Well, it was the
was
warrant article
combined.
was wood, oil, wood, wind and solar.
So a warrant article exclusive to solar might be considered.
It may.
I mean, by.
Oh,
Can
no.
I add something to the values of
Oh,
homes with solar?
say that again.
I said, can I add something to the value of homes with solar? So I'm a real estate agent, although I'm a real estate agent in Connecticut. I'm getting my license up here in New Hampshire. Woohoo. And 2/3 of realtors in the state of New Hampshire do not believe solar adds value to your home. And the reason that they don't believe that is because solar panels come with a whole host of problems, as everybody knows, whether it's hot spots or cracks. New Hampshire only has 199 days of sun a year. And a lot of the people who are buying in New Hampshire at this moment, because we've had an influx of people like me coming from out of state, we don't want to deal with the problems that go on with solar because it's really not in this country. It's different overseas, but in this country at this moment in time, our solar technology is taking off. So what we have today is really not what we're going to have in 5 years. So having solar today, unless your system is a brand new system that tracks the sun and folds up at night because of snow, solar does not add value to your property. I'm sorry to blow everyone's bubble if they think it does, but it really doesn't. And I know when I was looking at homes here in Canaan, I absolutely did not want solar power, and a number of newbies. So I can give you the data on that, whoever is running this, but our houses aren't worth more. And in fact, if you want to ask me questions about that, I'm happy to answer it, but I have a lot of data to support that.
So am I,
Well, so that shouldn't be a consideration.
They
then.
should probably identify themselves.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Christine. I don't know how to make my picture come back up. I don't know if you can see me, but it's Christina Orsi LaRoe. We're new to town.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, thanks.
am
And
I,
I think if you were listening, that I did indeed say that sometimes it does increase the value, sometimes it doesn't.
Right.
I wasn't trying to say it was the greatest thing since canned soup. On the other hand, I can honestly say that in the time we've had it, we haven't had to do any work on it at all. Now, we've got a south facing most of it is south-facing, which is great. We've got a fairly steep roof, which is great. Some people don't. They'd have to put more things in. I understand that. I'm just saying this gives me people the opportunity to get some type of break for doing it. That's all.
I have a question. If we were able legally to change the wording of the warrant article to remove the word wind powers.
I'm just telling you, that's what I think defeated it last time. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what also hung it up last time, Joanne, was Joanne was the commercial sites.
Joanna, yeah.
Was the commercial sites that had just been put in like behind Canaan Hardware and at Cardigan Mountain. That's what really turned me off it, because I don't want those commercial sites in the large wind farm up on.
There's a
Right,
difference.
but it doesn't say that in this. It says all solar in. You know.
I'm not sure, Stephen, honestly, that, as I understand it, and I would have to do more research. But my understanding is what the state permits is residential solar and wind. Permits a tax exemption for residential solar and wind, not for commercial. But certainly, you know, and I don't mean to edit your petition here, but certainly, I mean, I think one thing that should be done is make it very, very clear. Because I think the issue, as Scott points out, people are not interested in a massive wind project or a massive solar project and to have a massive commercial solar project or wind project that comes in and then gets some sort of tax rebate makes no sense.
Right.
Has that happened in every other town around us? Is that every time they gave an exemption for some sort of renewable that they were inundated with applications to?
I don't think so. But the last time it came up, the town was facing a wind farm, a commercial wind farm being put in, and there was a large rise of.
This is the wording we were told to go with last year, and the idea that it was a resident tax is supposed to be understood, but I know it's not clear. And if we can legally put that in and it's clear, I can take out the wind. Fine, we'd be glad to do that.
And I think that's part of the brainstorming, right? That's why it's important.
Yeah, and you still have time to get the warrant article.
Yeah, we're really glad to get the feedback.
Yeah,
Right,
go
absolutely.
ahead.
Yeah, Brian Armbrust from up on Orange Road. So as I listen to this, it seems to me that even though we're talking about a specific instance, I think what the town and the rest of us are trying to think about is the future. We know we're going to make changes in the future. The towns around us are starting to support some initiative that you can take some advantages of possible investments and things for your residents. That's what I think the question really is about. Is Canaan ready to step up and offer an equal playing field as our colleagues who live close to us or not? And think about the future instead of thinking about, well, you can always get some wood.
Well, that'd be a good speech at deliberative session. That's when people are gonna be voting on. Go ahead.
So this was 15, the real estate agent from Connecticut. If what you says is true and it doesn't add value to your property, then there ought to be a way to document that. So if it's not adding value to your property, it's a moot point. And I think what these people could do is if that's true, they could get their claims appraised and go to the county and ask for an abatement.
So we just did the 5-year cyclical. Was that mentioned at all?
But I don't think Cardigan's getting taxed at all on their.
No, I don't believe so.
I have a question for you folks real quick.
All right,
So has it,
Can't hear her.
ha-
Select meeting a couple of years ago. That they were exempt.
no, I don't believe that's true.
Okay, I'll have to look at the tax card.
Go ahead.
They haven't.
All right,
And then they have to go on the door.
yeah, we know. All right. Go ahead, Dan.
has this, so from what I'm hearing, it's kind of the same point argued, but for lack of better terms, from two different angles, right? So my question is, So you've had solar for how long?
You know, off the top of my head, 8 years.
8 years, right, roughly. So, do you have your taxes specifically increased because of having the solar on your home?
Yes,
Because-
told they were.
Yeah, but we were told by the person who did the assessment.
Okay, right, right, because, you know, what you're asking is to take that amount that it increased and have it abated. And what you're saying is that technically it shouldn't increase at all, right? Am I hearing you guys right? That's really my question. I want to make sure I'm hearing you guys right.
I didn't get a rebate because I didn't have any electricity for 40 years.
Right,
I mean,
but it states in there, what you just read, right, is that it shouldn't increase your value at all,
That's right.
right?
Right.
And you're saying if it does increase your value, that you'd like that abated. That's my question. I want to make sure it's kind of the same point from two different angles in my mind, right? So I know one of the things that I have discussed sitting in this very chair right here was, and I didn't discuss it in any detail, quite frankly, but I know that I have brought up the fact that, and I forget who it was that was here that night, but we discussed possibly putting in solar power to help offset some of the town's electricity. And we talked about putting it up. I mentioned putting it up behind where the old pit was that we don't use anymore, and possibly powering that area up there for the waste treatment facility. And we had a discussion about that.
Yeah.
So if the town and like I say, I don't think it was discussed in great detail, and I'm not speaking for anybody else, but I specifically remember, and I know Ned and I have had brief discussions in the office when we're touching base on 15 different things. And what can we do to improve the problem at the transfer station and this and that? We've talked about, well, what happens if we, right? So don't take this out of context. It isn't something that we were discussing doing. It's brainstorming like we're doing tonight. But what happens if we did solar power roof areas over some containers and that sort of thing? So I guess the point of my rambling on is if I'm going to sit here and think about it for the town itself, then why would I not be in favor of it for the residents that are in the town? So that's my view as a select board member. Now, I think it's not a completely informed view. I'm going to be obviously, I'm asking you guys to make sure that I'm hearing you correctly. So, you know, don't come stomping on my doorstep. I'm brainstorming with you guys, right? But I think that in a lot of ways, we are trying to move Canaan forward. And, you know, it is compelling to me that every town around us has the exemptions and we don't. I'll tell you, I am in total disagreement on how our transfer station operates. And anybody who's been listening to me since I've been a board member knows that. I've been saying it since day one. That's part of the reason I ran for board. And one of the reasons I don't care for it is because we are the only one out of every town around us that does it this way. It's not working. So you know, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but I am saying that it's good that we're breaching the subject, and I'm all about learning. So that's where I'm at.
Can I add something to the solar conversation? Can you all hear me?
Yep, we can.
Hey, so it's Christina Orsi LaRoe again. So when the towns assess improvements in homes, at least where I came from, we would always look at, and I have some experience in this area because I used to be an appraiser when I switched into real estate. We would say, okay, so you put on this garage, it costs you X, but actually the value, when you have an appraiser book, the UFAT, which is the standards for appraisers, would say you may have spent, you know, $300,000 on your garage and it's beautiful, but the actual value when you resell it is, you know, $75,000 because it's a 3-car garage. People like to over improve things. And I think when we think about the solar issue, we should be reminded that you are exchanging an upfront cost for utilities, and you're building your own infrastructure for electric. But does that really add value to your house? Because what you're doing is you're exchanging a future cash flow of payments to your electric company to a future cash flow of payments to yourself. Now you're upfronting the cost, but by the time that that you've actually paid off your solar, and by the way, I'm for solar and I'm getting solar, but I'm not doing it for economic reasons. I'm doing it for social reasons. I'm really annoyed that the utilities jump so much up here because we've just opened this gun shop and he has machines in there. The electric bill is killing us. So there are reasons to do it, and I'd rather pay myself than pay the utility. Is that really a long-term improvement to my house? No, because the solar technology changes. It becomes obsolete, just like your Yugo from 20 years ago has zero value. It's not a classic car. So that's, it's a depreciable asset. Is what your solar installation is not really a long-term improvement to your house because it depreciates and it becomes obsolete very quickly. So I am all for the tax credit for putting your solar in, or for not valuing it at what you pay for it, because you're not really adding a dollar-to-dollar value to your home. And I can be happy to present an analysis to whoever wants it. I think putting solar in town is fantastic, but I don't think taxing your solar installations is actually appropriate, because as I say, all I'm doing is creating utility for my company, as opposed to paying Liberty or whoever you use up here. Does that make sense to everybody or not really?
I understand what you're saying. Yep.
We do.
And part of the first part of what you were talking about is, I think that really is personal preference, whether you decide to spend your money on the investment, knowing that you may not ever see your investment returned. So whether you want to spend the money yourself, I mean, like Pat, you spent a lot of money on that, right?
Yeah.
And in your case, it's because you never had electricity up there to begin with, really. So it's two different situations, and I'm sure you folks, it wasn't inexpensive, but it's a choice you make. So I think that is for each individual to decide whether they want to invest their money on having a different form of energy or not, and figuring out whether they will ever see the return on it.
Well, the other side of that point too is that if we discourage people from putting in solar and other renewables, all we're doing is feeding the electric companies, the utilities. We're really accomplishing nothing. And on top of that, yearly, they seem to be less and less able to manage whatever fee they assess us for. And it just makes sense to try and have some control over what's going out of your household in terms of money. And one way to do that is by going with solar. And it shouldn't be a negative. It should be a positive, not only for the financial benefits, but more globally for the social implications.
Right.
When we installed it, we really didn't think it would amortize during our lifetimes. And because I'm 80. But we still thought it was a good thing to do. And when I look at that CO2 decreasing, sure, it's a tiny, tiny bit in the world, but it is something. And so that does help a little bit. And you might say, oh, yeah, you're one of those green guys. Well, maybe to an extent I am. Okay, so what? That's not exactly what we're talking about. But I want to say thank you for listening. I really appreciate that you gave us this opportunity. And I also appreciate hearing what other people said and Joanna took good notes.
Mrs. Community Involvement.
Perfect. Any other, go ahead.
Yeah,
Cindy.
could you give an update on where you are on getting RFP proposals for the painting of the library? To get on someone's job list for next year?
Yes, and we have received no responses, and the closing date is the end of this week.
So something has been sent out?
Yes, something was sent out, so.
I have a question, for everybody in the room, and again, I'm not saying that I'm on board with doing this, but it has. I think we have discussed the legal aspect of it. And I understand that there is nothing legally that says that I can't bid. Is it appropriate for me as a business owner who has painted multiple buildings for the town of Canaan? I could list them off one after another. Is it appropriate for me to bid on painting the library or not?
You mean because of the conflict of interest?
Yeah,
Issue?
just in general, because I'm a select board member, is it appropriate for me to bid on it or not?
I thought the whole thing surrounding conflict of interest was to be sure that the public was apprised that a conflict exists, but that there isn't necessarily a prohibition against hiring someone who puts in a competitive bid.
Sure. And that's my understanding of it. But I want to know as a community. I know legally, but I like to think that I operate as much morally as legally, if that's the right term. Like above board, trying to make sure it makes sense to everybody.
Somebody else bids you, then.
Right, which, perfect.
As long as we have some mechanism to be assured that it is all above board.
Right, coming out of the
There's no
appropriate
preference being given.
line items, sure. Yeah,
then I would think that
And that the qualifications are similar for.
right, that's exactly right. It all has to go on the same RFP, and actually Ned and I spoke about what to present in the RFP, because the buildings that I have painted for the town, I mean, some of the buildings I've painted, I don't know, upwards of a decade ago, they're still holding paint. And the method that I use to paint these old buildings works. And I painted the backside of the library, I mean, only from the lights down, because that was what the RFP was, but it's still holding paint. And so, and again, I am busy, I'm booked solid, but if no one is going to bid on it, it does need to be painted. I know I'm qualified to put a bulletproof paint job on this old building in town. Should the only reason I don't bid because I'm a select board member?
No.
Ellie,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I haven't seen a while lately, but this issue happened, with us on the first committee, just a few people wanted to paint the meeting house, and they were gonna award the contract to him without any bidding, and the law requires anything over $200, of course, that was a long time ago, so I can more. But anything over $200 requires a bid, if it's a town employee or a elected official. So if you wanted to do it, you have to, put it out to bid.
Well,
We already done that, haven't got the responses, so if he's the only one left, I think you're okay. He's got other people in town getting on stuff and screwing us over, basically. So, at least you see it up front about it. He's done it before. You put out the bid, I think, that's what I find with it. I don't know about anybody else.
I would like to say, as the only selectman here that's hired Dan multiple times to do painting on the buildings, I don't think he needs to be disqualified just because he's a selectman. The work that he's done for us has been very good, and if I have no objections to you. Okay. No, I understand that, but it has gone out, like you said, for an hour for bid, and go ahead.
I think as long as there's an explanation, there's transparency.
and that's
And the
exactly,
citizenship understands that this is the issue.
Yeah.
I think, we have a small town here. To
Yeah.
be able to say,
and that's really
Well,
why I wanted to breach it with everybody.
If, let's say we hire somebody other than Dan, just because we didn't want to hire him because he's a selectman and we have a terrible job.
Yeah.
They're gonna say, well, why'd you do that? You had Dan right there.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna win either way. So, but the fact of the matter is, like I said, we've hired him before, long before he was a selectman. And I don't have any objections.
And I
And
think there are so many people in town who are upgrading properties.
Yeah.
And to have the major building in the downtown owned by the town in a state of disrepair sends a message that's not good.
Yeah.
And so I think it would be wonderful if qualified painting specialists.
Bulletproof.
Yes,
ABC,
yeah,
just like you've explained, I think.
Right, and I, again. I have not put a bid in on it. I am booked right now from what I see until about the second week of October. So, you know, but. Yeah, I know, right? So I should be in the clear. But my concern is not as a select board member, it's as a guy that pays taxes here first. And if we're going to pay someone to paint that building, I will tell you, it's not going to be inexpensive. Materials are ridiculous. That building needs an extensive amount of prep work. There's a lot to it. If we're going to pay someone to do that, I just want to get the best job we can. And so I don't know, at least now I understand where the community stands. It makes me feel a little better about it. I do want to be transparent. And we'll see if I can figure out how to fit something in, at least put a bid on it. So, yeah. Thank you. Perfect.
all right, go ahead.
The last other business I wanted to segue, and Dan already kind of brought it up. So I think it was August, Dan. It's in the meeting notes, if I remember right, about the solar and about the town thinking that we would plow ahead and perhaps have some sort of a group that was interested in doing that. I'm still very interested in that, and I think it segues perfectly with what we discussed tonight.
Perfect.
And it was about the town.
Yep.
Showing that leadership thing in the area that we are going forward, and we're talking about renewables, and perhaps the town can benefit. And with the $2 billion that the state got for infrastructure, whether there was any way to get any of that money. I know it's supposed to be earmarked for roads and broadband and stuff like that, but it's an infrastructural issue that could be at least an argument. And that's what I was thinking that we were looking forward to in the new year.
At least breach the subject.
All right,
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Healthy discussion. Thank you, guys. Yeah.
I have a couple of things under old business first. In the minutes, it mentioned the section of Prospect Hill Road and Clark Hill Road that we were gonna throw up for plowing this winter. So did
We had
enough complaints,
complaints that it seemed like
so we're gonna keep it open?
just keep.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. Second of all, we got a couple of purchase orders here from the highway department. We buy $10,000 worth of hard pack every year? I don't understand.
We never bought any.
I didn't think so.
We haven't bought these many years, but
How much do,
we were hoping, Bob's thinking, and I'm in agreement with him, is that the quality of the crushed gravel that we're getting out of the pit is, I'll say, is marginal.
okay,
We
right,
wanted to get some more quality stuff in, because first of all, because if we can get it now, we have to buy it, we can stockpile it.
So this says $10,000 for 3/4 inch hard pack. It doesn't say how many tons that is.
I can get you an exact tonnage amount. I know that Bob was thinking about it in yards, and there was some.
Okay, how many yards it is?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, we were trying to figure that out. We didn't have time.
and I remember having a discussion with Bob about the quality of the material that's coming out of the pit, and I've had several discussions with Bob about his assertion of why a lot of our roads are in the condition that they are, and it's because of the material that has been continuously put on them. And I know in one of our discussions, we talked about mixing some purchased material in with what we are mining out of our pit to make an actual usable material that might fix our roads over the course of time. And, you know, I agree, what he approached me with was that it took a long time for the roads to get this bad by putting material on it that doesn't necessarily benefit the road. It's not going to fix it overnight, but you have to start somewhere. So with that, is that what this 3/4 inch hard pack is? It's a stockpile to, yeah, of course, use separately here and there, but to mix in with some of the material out of the pit.
Yes.
It is,
Yeah.
right,
Some
okay,
of it's gonna, I'll say. The mixing may occur, I'll say on site, we're gonna put a thin layer on an existing road, reinforce what's existing there.
sure,
Some will be mixed. I'll say at home and brought out to the site. So
okay.
It's gonna be a,
So,
I also recall those conversations, Dan, but I
Yeah.
also recall that we bought a new pit and we were promised that the material that in the new pit
That's
was
what
gonna be
engineers
higher quality. We
Yeah.
were not gonna have to, was gonna solve those problems from the
It's
material
not-
coming out of the old pit.
Right, but
So
I
that's
think,
where I'm,
so where is it coming from? Because according to the gravel line, we only have 5,000 left.
we're gonna, it says, we're gonna transfer some money, I think it says it on there, we're transferring money
No.
among,
so Stephen, I
It's
agree.
3/4 inch hard pack.
yeah, we're transferring monies from.
So Bob has talked to me about like a, know the exact term, a geographical map or whatever, and you can look at the regions and that, so look, full disclosure, I wasn't a select board member yet, but I was at the board meeting when this was discussed and was not in agreement with purchasing the pit because I don't think that it had good material in it. And I believe that that is indeed what's happening now is that pit that we purchased doesn't have good usable material. So I'm not, don't get me wrong, fellas, I'm just,
I guess I
Discussing
want Bob
what-
to come in and give us a better
Yeah,
explanation of what he's
I'm-
gonna use and what
It
he's
is gonna
getting.
come out of the gravel line, because we have, I'll say nominally 9,000 some odd left in there.
Okay, because this one I have here says it's 5,000 left.
And it's the gravel.
and again, Stephen, I'm not trying to, I guess I don't want to sound argumentative. I'm just kind of recapping
Yeah, no, I.
Where we got-
get you.
Yeah.
what I know, right? My-
Oh, encumbrances, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, actually, it says balance right now, 3,167 in gravel. So it's actually less than that.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Sorry, less than what I thought.
But I mean, there's 3 people that work at the highway department here,
Yeah,
you know,
so
Yeah.
that leads to the next question. This 4.5 yard salt sander for the Ram 5500. Was that, what's that new?
That was several weeks ago. What's happening is it's like a spiral drive or a.
it's an auger.
Auger.
yep.
Right,
All right,
And what's happening is unless there's, I'll say 100% salt or nearly 100% in that bed. The auger just drives a hole straight through it.
Sure.
And it won't push it out the back and it just sort of flails around or just does nothing.
So I had a sander that was an auger fed sander about a decade ago. And what happens with that is when you run strictly sand through that, as soon as you go over these rough roads and it compacts it around that auger,
Yep.
the auger literally just bores a hole and doesn't allow the sand to come down to the auger to get put out on the spreader. So unless you're running strictly salt or some sort of a rougher aggregate through it, the auger is worthless. So
But-
I did have that conversation with.
You
Bob.
also said this afternoon, this is for the spare, the extra vehicle, right?
This would stay, actually, the old one would go to be, I'll say spare, the auger drive one. The new one would go into the Dodge that we put a fair amount of money into and now is gonna become more actively used or more able to use. And once we get our full fleet of vehicles here, would go to be a backup vehicle. That's sometime.
The Dodge, the truck would go to be a backup, but the sander would come out and come into
Yeah,
to
would
the
go
new.
to new- I think-
And where is that money coming from?
I would have to see what line item Bob said, but that's coming from, that would be a capital, so I'd have this, capital, would we would transfer monies. I think it actually says that the money's around from different accounts. But I will check with Bob on that one also.
I understand the concept.
I will-
There's nothing on there that says it's coming out of any other funds.
Okay, I will check with Bob.
All right, so we'll hold off on them.
Yeah.
The water and sewer abatements, I understand that the pool water is, they're charged for it, but we're abating the sewage.
Just
That's,
sewerage
that's,
fees.
that's, that's,
Yeah,
that's the one I still have a question.
They pay for the
that
Uh,
water,
one has a,
This is the subs and ducts one.
yeah.
That's for the
Yeah,
meter that runs
different,
backwards.
that's been the,
Yeah.
that's
You
been
get
the,
that
I need better explanation. of that.
so that's a different.
It's just an incorrect calculation. That one
This
is
is the one for the laundromat.
the laundromat. That one's being abated because their meter reads incorrectly and
Who's verified that though?
John verified it. He actually called, they have a not the cellar hole or some sort of hole, they had to call in to verify that the numbers are correct, and those numbers in the check table there are John's.
Okay.
Does it make sense to change that? I know we've talked about it a little bit, Ned, and I now understand what the reverse meter
Yeah.
is, but does it make sense to change that? So we don't have to do this every year? Because I believe we did it last year. and
Every
we've probably
quarter.
done the year before. Right, yeah, we do it.
Should be
constantly, so-
checking every quarter.
Right
Yeah,
there.
gotcha.
Yeah.
So what do you fellas think? Does that
I
make
agree.
sense that it gets changed instead of having
I
to do
would-
this
yeah.
every quarter?
Yeah.
I would agree.
Right? So can I put a motion in to change it? I put a motion in that we change the meter to an accurate reading meter at the Suds and Duds laundromat.
I would agree. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
John,
okay, thank you.
All right.
And did you want to touch base on the swimming pool thing? Did you already?
No, that was, they're paying for the water. They just, because it doesn't go into the sewer, they were abating the sewer.
Just the sewer
Right,
charges.
exactly,
So-
yeah. So
And they
if
have-
there's anyone,
a secondary meter that actually can show how many exited and went into the pool.
Okay.
do you have something, Mike?
The junkyard, was there an update to the house on 577 Cannon Street? I
Yes,
see that was passed out. to me.
yes. The attorney, Sean, our attorney, has been in contact with them. It's owned by the Mellon Bank.
Yeah.
The Pittsburgh area. They've been, I'll say, less than hospitable in their, with us.
I'm sorry.
They, he's sent them the official filings, he sent them some other stuff. He was hoping to have stuff back from them today. I did not get a message from him, so, but he's still hoping to have it by the end of the week. There is activity going on and enforcement going on. We just have to take it a step at a time.
Right.
And every step ends up with some amount of delay back from now on, and they are less neighborly than they probably should be, is the nicest way I can.
Yeah.
They said.
We can organize a field trip to Pittsburgh.
I'm up for. a
We'll
road
take the
trip.
selectman jet out.
All right,
Uh,
any other business? If not, we will make a motion. We need a motion to go into non-public.
I'll make a motion to go into non-public.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, everybody make sure you sign in.
Thank you. Yep.
Make sure you sign in.
Thank you.